There is a company who has set its sight on becoming the global pumping icon by 2020. This company sees itself as a game changer in India and world. The company which we all proudly know as Luby Pumps. We have more than 20 branch offices and over 2,000 network of distributors and dealers across India, North, Central and South America, Europe, Middle East, North Africa, Central Africa and Southeast Asia. We have pumps for all imaginable use, right from domestic to industrial and agriculture to construction. At our flagship unit at Naroda Road, we run one of the largest submersible pumps manufacturing facility in India. At Kadadra, we have the country's best in-house and technically advanced foundry unit. We also have an integrated pumping solution unit to manufacture stainless steel and industrial pumps at Vadsar. At our electronics division, we provide value-added engineering solutions using industrial automation products. We have 7 manufacturing facilities sprawl across 3 lakh square meters with 2,500 steadfast employees. And we manufacture 7 lakh pumps per annum. At Vadsar, we have invested in a separate dedicated production division for stainless steel fabricated pumps. This unit is spread over a 1,50,000 square feet and produces 4-inch to 10-inch fully stainless steel bore well submersibles as well as vertical multi-stage pumps using advanced technologies and automated machinery for modern fabrication. At this facility, we also manufacture 5-star rating energy efficient pumps. We also have state-of-the-art large pump testing facility to test pumps up to 500 horsepower and 600 mm size. Adhering to our mantra, attainable and sustainable, we have invested in NABL accredited testing facility for energy efficiency testing of motors up to 250 horsepower in accordance with IEEE standards. It also has the capacity of manufacturing and testing of fire pumps to UL and FM standards. At Vadsar, we also manufacture sewage pumps, drainage pumps, end suction pumps, vertical inline pumps and horizontal split case pumps which caters to industrial and CBS applications. Our records speak for itself. Our success story is only the beginning of future of hope, attainment and promise. To lead, to care, to innovate, to embrace technology and to excel. This is what defines our reputation. We have the power and the responsibilities are endless. We believe we can deliver and we are working towards achieving our mantra. Attainable and sustainable.
Thank you, Ashutosh bhai. Welcome.
थैंक यू वेरी मच राजेंद्र भाई। सभी का स्वागत है आज के प्रोग्राम में। इट इज माय प्रिविलेज टू बी मास्टर ऑफ सेरेमनी फॉर टुडेज प्रोग्राम विद एजाज काजी सर, गिविंग मास्टर क्लास ऑन प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट एंड इट्स इंपॉर्टेंस इन HVAC. I would like to, though he does not require any introduction as such in the field of project management, but still I shall do my best. Kazi sir completed his mechanical engineering from BJTI Mumbai, and he is also a management professional from Project Management Institute, USA. He is a past president of ISRAE Mumbai chapter and currently zonal chair for research promotion. Professionally, he has been associated with Voltas for more than 2 decades, and currently he is serving as a project director. He has a rich and diverse experience in handling projects in various applications like malls, airports, hotels, pharmaceuticals, you name it, he has done it. Recently, he has also ventured as an author, and he published a brilliant book named The Person of Your Dream. Kazi sir, it's a pleasure to have you here. The stage is all yours, and we are all looking forward to hear you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you for that warm, welcome and my introduction. I will try my level best to do justice to what is the topic of the day today. Let me start. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. And I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So topic of the today, today's webinar is project management and its importance in HVAC. Project management is a vast subject. I will try to do justice for both these topics relating to HVAC. And welcome once again. And I generally start with this quote that performance comes always from passion and not from pressure. Be passionate, love your job. If you have decided to come to this industry, I think we have decided from our conscious, and we must be able to passionate about it and do our best. Then only we'll be able to succeed in whatever we do. Right? This is my brief introduction. I think he has already spoken. So let me just go first into the terminologies which is done by PMI USA. PMI is a body which is largely recognized across the world for project management. So generally, project is not just a building or a structure. It has so many things, and this is how it is defined by PMI. Project is can be defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create unique product or service. So it is not necessary that what we create has to be physical. It can be a service like IT projects, softwares, and other things. So it's a temporary endeavor. That's very important. It has got limited duration to complete. It is not an endless thing like operations. It has definite beginning and definite end. And that is what all about project. And one important thing is it creates a unique thing. So everything what comes out of the project is always a unique thing, be a building, be a software. We cannot find any similarity between two. In terms of building, the location will be different, the people involved will be different, the stakeholders will be different, and the application could be different. And that's what is project, and that's what uniqueness of the project. So it has a start date and end date. It cannot be going on for on and on. The outcome is unique, as I said, and everybody who works on the project is generally different. The location is different, and projects are completed when the goals of the projects are achieved. And if it is found that project is no longer viable, then it is terminated. So like in today's space of Corona, most of the projects are getting terminated. When they revive the project again, it has to start from the scratch. So the project cannot be there for a long time. It has to be terminated and it has to be started again. So that's how PMI looks at it. And this is very important terminology or definition. We must look as a project management professionals or people who are working in the project. Some of the spectacular projects which are done across the globe, and these are some of the projects. One of the important things is Panama Canal. Chandrayaan 2 was a project. Earlier days, you must have seen such forts. Shivaji Maharaj, it says they say the 370 plus forts were built, and those were also projects. Taj Mahal was a project. Great Wall of China, pyramids in Egypt. All these projects were built that time also. And the earlier days, the leadership used to take the whole project into their hand, and they used to master all the tools which we feel right now are also important. And those tools were there earlier also. Probably the technology and other things were not there, but even in current situation with the kind of technology and the kind of processes we are in, we struggle in most of the projects. But the outcome of earlier projects and now projects, you can see the difference in terms of quality. They still exist with the same zeal and with the same quality. And that's the beauty of the projects which are done earlier. Project generally enable business value creation. Any project we start has an intent of a business, right? So if generally there are 4 categories on which the project starts. One is to meet regularly or social requirements. Probably these are related to any change in a regulatory requirement. Probably one of the examples can be these engines of vehicles are changed now from Bharat 5 to Bharat 6. Project was undertaken for that. Social thing, government does a lot of projects of roads and other things. All these are related to social. Some projects are taken to improve the existing product or add some features into the product. and there are certain projects that are taken to change some of the technologies. Uh, every day you might see the technologies are coming. These are the projects which are undertaken to get to ahead of everybody as a part of change. And mostly as a part of us, where we are from HVAC or MEP background, we generally do projects to satisfy the stakeholder request. So any stakeholder who wants to build a plant or build a building or a hotel, we get in as one of the element of the project to satisfy the stakeholder need. And it is important to understand what is stakeholder and what is satisfaction. If the stakeholder who is building the project is not satisfied with kind of delivery which we deliver as a project, or the kind of experience we give as a project, he will not be satisfied. And that is very important. And together, the stakeholder and us, if he is creating a hospital, if he is not able to satisfy the needs of the patients, then the project is not the right project. It is unsuccessful project. So important is to deliver the right intent till the last mile is very important. And our role also comes in very this thing. Now, what is project management? It's application of knowledge, skills, tools, techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. The project is not a firefighting. Most of us generally get into, right? And that is what is project management is not allowing. It is creating a proper tools and techniques and sets of processes which will allow you to take out this firefighting element from this. It starts from the initiation to the closing. Where we start our project, we also have to start from initiating to closing. Only thing what the different spectacle we wear, we feel that project manager is the person who actually delivers the job at site. And that's the myth. The project manager has to start the project from the beginning, and he should be able to conclude from the as the part of closing. And that's the difference between what we look at as project management and what the fundamentals of the project management are. And it's very important to understand this terminologies and the definitions. It has project management covers initiation to closing. One of the important factor of project management, which is given a lot of thought, is project management is more art than science. Most of the people, we feel that we can attend a lot of project management seminars and get a lot of education about planning, controlling, cost management, other things, and we can project manager. It is not. We have to have art and leadership part of a project into our brain. Then only the project management can work. It cannot be only art. It cannot be only science, but it has to be more art than science. It can be, people who know how to paint, and people know painting is just, putting some paint on a canvas, but the masterpiece only can be created from if the mind is clear about what he wants to intend, what the real painter is about. And that's the difference of project management, right? It is like this. We have a science component of project management are here, but the art kind of project management are leadership, negotiation, motivation, team building. If this is not there, whatever you do about this science part, the project will not be successful. And it is very important. A lot of thrust is given by the PMI on this, and it is the practical and actual thinking of project management. This is like this. We should have both brains to coming together, left and right brain, right? Then only a man can start thinking in a right way. Similarly, project management has to have both. And if you find 17% is only the science part, the art part, which is below the ocean, is 83%. So that's how the importance of the art is given into project management. Project management is lots and lots of coordination. It's a teamwork, and the art part comes in teamwork. It's balancing of various things in project management. And project management, as I told you earlier, must look at the overall view of a project. It cannot be today, tomorrow. It must be for the entire project. It must be for next 1 month, 6 months, or 1 year down the line. If we have the clarity in the mind, the vision of the project in mind, that is what is called project management, and not the smallest part of the project management, which we generally do as a part of firefighting. And that's the difference between project management and a firefighting we generally tend to do. Project management will have a lot of complex situation, and that's why we are all there as a project managers to solve this, to manage this situation. But the situations will be there. This is an integral part of the project, and everybody must know this. Running away from this will not be able to give you any result. It's always a cycle. We have to evaluate, design, development, analyze, and it's a cycle of learning which is there. Project management in a simple layman language is trying to manage a project without project management plan is like to play a football game without a game plan. Similar analogy of football game. If you don't have a plan, I think you will not lead anywhere. Similarly, project management, if you want to be a successful project manager, or if you want to have a project successful, you have to have a game plan. And project management is that game plan. It's a layman's analogy, which is very, very important to understand what is project management is all about. Project objectives, we must know what are the project objectives. Our objective as a contractor, HVAC contractor or HVAC designer would be different. But as a whole project, the project must be able to have these objectives, and these are goals, what one is intended to do by completing a project. If you want to do a software to try and build an app, what kind of service, what solution you are going to give from that app to the people. If you want to build a hotel, what kind of hotel and what kind of people you are going to serve from this hotel. Unless you know the needs of those people, you will not be able to do a project. And unless you're able to satisfy those needs of the people, we will not be able to say that project is complete, right? Or project is successful. So, and there are 3 key performance indicators that will tell you the efficiency by which the project was handled. That is the scope management, cost management, and time management. If these 3 things have to be looked into to find out what is the efficiency of a project. So most of the time what happens is we complete project anyhow, but we don't look at the efficiency part of it. And that is very important in project management. We must look at both these. So somehow we manage and complete a project and being proud, but we must also look at what is the efficiency part of it. What is success of the project? Success of the project only when it meets or exceeds the expectation of the stakeholders. The stakeholders are very, very important. It's like building a ceiling from Worli to Bandra. If the people who are traveling by car, if they are able to get satisfaction, then only the project is successful. Sorry. Building just a ceiling without any, clear successful expectation or clearance of expectation from the stakeholders will not consider as a successful project. The most important part in every project that one has to have belief that a project is possible and project will be successful. It is not completing the project somehow. It has to be with the objective, the success of the project in the mind. And it is important to be proactive in project. It cannot be daily task or tomorrow's task or day after tomorrow task. We have to be proactive to understand what is the project requirement, what is the project situation, and how you are going to handle this. And that is the project success. Some of the examples of project success here: Metro, yes, obviously people are very happy. The Kochi airport. And now I come to our part of project management. Why we do as a HVAC or MEP team projects. One of the important thing is a financial, right? And without that, I think nobody will be there in the business. So one is the turnover, which is the revenue side. That is the first important thing. And second is the profit. If these are not there, I think we as a contractor or HVAC people or MEP people will not be getting into the project. So that is the first thing. But these things have to be backed up by next thing, which is called customer. For to achieve a turnover and profit, you have a customer and you must have a satisfied customer. We must be able to get repeat business from the customer. We must be able to get the delight from the customer. Then only your first objective of financial will be achieved. Now, to have a customer, we must have process. And this is the process where project management comes in. And these are some of the elements of process: and cost control, timely completion, HSE, that is safety, environment, safety and health, quality. If these are built in your organization, built in your process, then you will be able to satisfy the customer. Then you will be able to go to the first objective, right? These are all interlinked, and that is why we do projects. We must understand the elements of this, and we should be always on dot in terms of this. And to have process, we must have learnings, right? Unless we know what are the best practices available in the market, unless you know what are the challenges faced in the market and how do you overcome those challenges. If you have built projects earlier, and if you find what are the challenges you built earlier, if you can document it, the lessons learned, you will be able to build the learnings. From the learning, you can build the process, refine the process. From refining the process, you can get to a good customer value. From good customer value, you can get to your profit on and turnover. And this is our interlinks, and this is what we do projects for. These are all objectives for project. But how are we doing these things right? I think most of us must be getting dreams in the night about all these parameters, all these wordings or verbatims I have put in. Firefighting, quality, speed, quality issues, claims, payment not getting from customer, cost overruns, time overruns, cash flows, risk, litigations, vendor payments. All these things are part and parcel of our journey so far. In most of this, I'm not saying everybody does this, but most of the people are getting into such kind of issues because we are not getting into the fundamental part of it, right? And these are very important to understand. However, the global project landscape is also similar. We can see 70% of the project made the original goal, 51% completed on time, 32% are failed project, 56% completed within original budget, 48 experienced the scope creep. We'll talk about it a little later, and 14% were total failure. So it's happening across the globe, and there are reasons for it, right? Because most of the people will not would like to have investment into the process, and that is very important. You must be seeing some of these clippings in the newspapers about cost overruns and time overruns and other things, and these are part and parcel of project management. But why project fails? There are 4 or 5 important things, and first of the important thing is ineffective communication to stakeholders. Many stakeholders are involved in a project, and if there is a lack of communication between, that is the first reason for failure of a project. It's very important. If you look at in our family, how the family are built, if there is a relationship issue between the families, the most critical thing is the communication, right? You will understand this. Similarly, this communication, the project is also made by families. There are a lot of people who are involved. And if there's a lack of communication, it's the first thing to have project failure. Second thing, when a project we start with some sufficiency of, we start with some assumptions. That these are the assumptions on which we are starting the project. If this assumption itself are wrong, this will lead to a failure of a project. If you are not able to find out the right assumptions on which you will build a project, and if you go further and the assumption becomes wrong, the project fails. Important thing is lack of change management. That is another important thing which attributes to project failure. Any project will have changes. How do we manage the changes? If you're not able to manage the changes, it will be a disaster. You will be going on doing changes and it will not end any time. And many people, a lot of stakeholders will lose the money, and in turn, they will lose the interest in the project and they will leave, and that's how project fails. Last but not is the process adoption. The kind of processes we use on the project are the reasons for the project failure. And this is very important where the project management comes in, right? Some other elements of project failure is impractical customer expectation. Knowingly, customer will tell you, they know that it's going to take 2 years, they will tell you to do in 6 months or 9 months. This is not possible because they did not involve the right process to identify amount of time required to project. And that's where the process comes into picture, right? And aggressive management commitment, even from the owner side or the people who do the project, they also wanted to do it fast. They give a lot of aggressive commitment and they fail later on. If they don't take the ownership of the people who are working on the project, they will go and give aggressive commitment. The project will fail. And people and technology challenge. We have these issues, right? But we are not able to overcome these issues. We are not able to adapt like other industries. The challenges or use of technologies in that magnitude, which we should have done. And this is where the project fails because of people and technology challenge. People could also have element of attitude. People who work on the project, if there's an issue of team building there, that will also lead to a project failure. So I hope you are getting what I'm saying. These are some of the important elements of project failure. And in project, there's something called triple constraint, and that is another terminology which is used. This is the balancing of cost, time, and scope. If you are not able to balance as a project manager, you will lose heavily and the project will be leading to a failure. So there is always a trade-off between these three. If you want to do a project fast, you will have to put some more cost in because your resources will be increased. If you want to add some scope, again, the time and cost will be changed. But you must be able to balance this so that your project objective is achieved in time, within the cost and within the scope. And that is where project manager role is coming. And if you try and adjust everything, the important thing which gets affected is the quality. If you try to do work fast, quality will be issue. If you try to add some more scope into your project, again the quality will be issue. Reworks will always lead to a wrong quality. And this is how this is called triple constraint. This is like this, game which we see generally in malls. You hit one ball, the other two balls will come up. So we have to manage these all the three balls all the time on a project. If any time you lose the control, it will be leading to an accident on a project. So what is the areas of expertise required for a project management? One should have application knowledge. Like we must have HVAC knowledge, MEP knowledge, right? We must also look at what are the standards and regulations. These standards and regulation will change from geography to geography, but we must be able to have back of our mind. We must be able to understand what is the project environment, in what environment we are doing the project. A project environment has got 4 or 5 elements. One is the cultural, where we are doing the project. One is international, whether you are doing outside the country. We should know what is the environment there. We should know what is the social environment there, what is the political environment there, what is the physical environment there. If you do project in Orissa coast, you will always find that Orissa coast is always likely to have many storms in a year. We must be able to understand the situation, and we must be able to build the risk mitigation strategies into your project management. Otherwise, if one storm comes, you will again go into a different game altogether. So you must be able to understand this project environment right from social to physical. The most important thing is, another thing is the interpersonal skills, the management knowledge and the skills, which is the art part of the project. Managing people, managing relationship is the one of the area of expertise which is required. Now, I just want to show you one example about what is culture means. If you look at the colors represents different thing in different countries, and we must be able to have such kind of understanding of cultures when you do a project like this. So if you look at a red color, it's a danger in US, but it's a happiness in China. It's anger in Japan, it's death in Egypt, right? And this is how different colors reflect different meanings among different countries. So that is what is called understanding of the culture, where I meant about culture here. Social, you must be knowing how the social thing goes about. You must have seen how the project of Tata Motors was taken out from West Bengal to that was having both the elements of social and political, was taken from West Bengal to Gujarat. These are some of the elements of understanding of project is very, very important. The project environment is very, very important. Now, what we generally call is 6 unfortunate golden rules in project management. And these are the 6 unfortunate golden rules which generally happens in most of the project. And when a project starts, we always start with a lot of enthusiasm. New project come, everybody is happy, everybody is willing to contribute. We start with a lot of enthusiasm. The next stage come into project is disillusionment, where the people started getting some setbacks, and they start getting into a trauma. And the next stage comes is a panic, where nothing has happened. Now everything has to be done in a couple of months or couple of years, and project has to be completed. Panic gets created, a lot of parallel works goes on, and nobody knows what is happening. The fourth thing happens is search for the guilty. Somebody has to be found guilty for what has happened, right? And the search starts. What happens is finally the punishment is given to the innocent who was not the guilty. The punishment is given, and at the end of the project, you'll find one person or couple of group will come, and they will generally manage the situation and complete the project. And or they may not be that involved, will just come as a visitors, and they finally get promoted. So that is the reward and recognition which is given to the people who are not involved. The punishment is given to innocent, and that's how the project management's unfortunate golden rules are specified. They happen in most of the project. If you reflect back in your projects, you will find some analogy from this, right? So it's like this enthusiasm versus time, and this is how it starts. It starts with a lot of josh, and finally it comes down. Then again, somehow we have to complete, we come back again, and finally we lead to a success. But this is not the way we want to live the life, right? And there are some common mistakes which are there to back it up. And these are one by one we'll go. Having plan in our head. Most of the time, the project people are considered that they are king. They know everything in their head, and whenever their customer or your boss wants something about it, they are not able to do it because it's very difficult to share what is in your head, right? And if you handle multiple projects, it will be having a lot of chaos, confusions. It is difficult to track and monitor. If it is on paper, if it is on computer, it is possible to track. Anything in head will create a lot of confusion, and the person who is carrying that thing will be under a lot of stress. So that is the one of the common mistake which we do in project execution. Another thing is saying I maybe or I will try. Most of the time, customer says, will you able to do it? He will say, I will try. The customer feels that he has committed. Now to push that since you are committed, you will put a lot of pressure on your system. If the entire system will be in confusion, there will be chaos, a lot of pressure will be created, and it will have a lot of impact on cost and quality. And this is very important. If you are not clear about it, you must take some time, go back on your drawing board, say whether it is possible, and give an exact date. Don't say, I will try. The next is answering killer question. What best you can do? Sometimes you get provoked in the meeting, what best you can do, and you get elevated and you commit some date. If you don't have plan in front of you, you must not, or you should not give exact date. You always should give a range, because if you say, I will do this, the blame game starts because the other person feels that he has committed. And this is a provocation which happens most of the time, most of the meetings. We must not be able to get into this unless otherwise you know what is the issue all about, right? And if you're very confident. Involving a team, most of the time people go for the meeting, they commit something to customer, they go for another meeting, they don't tell the people who are working at site what they have committed to the customer, and they go for another meeting, commit something else there, and they go on. They don't involve the team. Even before going the team, the important thing is to involve team who is actually doing work at site, get their issues, and you should be able to work out what is the issues they are facing, and you should be able to get the buy-in from the team. From what date you will be able to complete this. If the buy-in is not there from this team and you go and commit it, the huge gap between these two, and nothing will be happening. You will always be under pressure again. Customer will start forcing you again, and there will be important issue. It is important to have team commitments, whether you go for a meeting or if you attend a meeting and team is not able to attend the meeting, you must always communicate back to the teams what you have committed, and you must be able to get the buy-in from the teams. Taskbar versus bar chart. We are known for creating what is required in HVAC. We will have a huge task list, but we don't know how to sequence it. We are not able to create a chart. We will be only creating a chart in the first day in Microsoft project and leave it as it is. It is important to understand the project, as I said, in an overall manner. If we are contributing a little bit of HVAC into a project, we must be able to see what is the overall project all about. We must be able to get what are the dependencies from the other people, what are the dependencies within our internal, and we must be able to link it properly. It is like this. We must be able to find out what is the critical path and how the critical path will be monitored. Unless we able to do this activity, if we are able to only do the task list, you will not be able to get the critical path, and we will have problems later. No planning all our project. Most of the time, it is the individual person who manages the project. One person will be managed properly, another will be managed properly. But as an organization, if you have multiple projects running, you must be able to deliver consistency, and that is what is important from the outside, just outside stakeholders. So if we have planning on one project good, other projects are failing, the whole organization will fall apart, right? This is what happens. There are 6 projects here. Project A is completed. Project C is ahead of time. Project D was supposed to start here, but today it is not yet started. Project B is behind schedule. And this is what happens if you don't plan on your projects. So it is very important to have control on all the projects, and it cannot be 1 or 2 projects. Because if you have 3 projects, 2 are okay, 1 is going bad, that 1 can also impact the progress of the other 2 projects. So it is important to have consistency. Stories versus charts, plans. We generally, if a progress report is asked, we'll give a lot of stories because we want to hide the facts. Everything is in head. We don't know what is happening, and that's how stories come out. It's very important to have something on paper, and we should be able to give a right picture to the stakeholder. Thinking under spend is okay. We feel that if the cost on the project is less, it is better, but we do not consider what is the time element. And if you look at this example here, the cost on the 5th month, the actual cost is less than the planned cost, but actual progress is also less. What will happen? Your project instead of 10 months will go into 11 months. Your fixed cost is going to remain same and you will start incurring loss. So it is not important to only look at the cost. We should also look at the other two elements of scope and time and take the decision accordingly. Thinking underspent is a myth. Rescheduling too late. If you don't schedule earlier, if you don't review and then reschedule later, it become a problem. So rescheduling at the later point, saying that the project will get delayed by 1 year, this is not the way, right? This is the way of anybody can do the project. We don't require project managers to handle such kind of project. And last element, or one of the important elements, not reviewing. We don't review time because we always see my project is a fantastic project. This is a very complex project. No one can handle this. Only I can handle it. I'm very busy. I don't have time to review. But we must also at least have time to review the three important things: what went good, what went bad, and what could have been better. If you do it in a week's time or bi-weekly, at least it will give you what is happening on the project. If you don't review, you don't know. That's very simple. If you don't plan, you don't review, you don't know what is project. So it is important to have plan, review, then only you are going to be called as project manager. And why these some of the mistakes? I also bucketed into four or five elements here. One is lack of training. We always depend on software without knowing what software is doing. So the fundamentals are not known about time planning, cost planning, other things, and we without training we use those softwares, and it just goes on. The project seems to be very easy at the start. We are very happy, but when you get into the project, then it starts. The real thing starts, right? That's the another issue. Planning takes time. That is a myth, and we don't give importance to planning, and then that's why that is one of the mistake which we do. And very important is no clear leader. This person is not here. There are many leaders doing the job, and no one is able to get the team in a right direction. So it is important to have a clear leader. So these are some of the mistakes, or some of the common mistakes which we have seen. These are the reasons for those mistakes, right? Who is this guy? Project manager. And we talked about the leader, clear leader. He is the leader here. The only issue I find in most of the projects of HVAC that we get any Tom, Dick, Harry and make him a project manager and give a designation as a project manager. That's now. It's like Sachin Tendulkar versus Dhoni. Dhoni is a great project manager because he used to handle the team properly. Tendulkar was a great batsman, but he did not have the capability to lead the team, right? So you will have people like this. You may have a very experienced person who is very good in a design, but you cannot make him a project manager because he is very good there. If he has the ability to of the art side of project management, then you must elevate him as a project management. But otherwise, we do a lot of mistakes and then we have problem. So let us look at this. He is the guy who is hanging on tree. There is a snake trying to bite him. The tree is about to get collapse. Lion is waiting for him, and if he falls from tree also, the crocodiles are there to eat him. So this is the kind of project manager generally we put into the field, right? And they get very stressed out, and they get into such situation because project manager has to be alert. He has to be alert all the time. Otherwise, everybody will start catching him, and his situation will be like this. To escape from this is a very difficult position. So the person who is here has to be the person who should be able to manage all these guys, and that is the crux of the project manager. That is the importance of the project manager, that you will have so many situations like this. He should be able to manage it. You must not be able to run away. He is tried to run away, but in project you cannot run away. You will be always chased, right? And many people will start chasing you. So this is a very important slide for you. It gives you the background of who is the project manager. It cannot be any Tom, Dick, and Harry. So he should have a lot of abilities in terms of leaderships. He should also know what are the task needs, what are the team needs. He should be able to handle the team. He should be able to guide the team, build the team, coach the team, and that is very important part of it. And project manager must be a good communicator. In project management, we say 90% of the time is spent on the communication. If he is not good in communication, he cannot be project manager. So it's very important to understand this. And these are three important things, basic things which are required. This is called PMI triangle for a project manager. He must be able to know what is the technical part of the project management. He may not be knowing entire thing, but he must be knowing who is the right person to do what technical things, right? Second thing is we should have a leadership which is the art part of the project management, and he should also have the business mind. Otherwise, he should have the overall picture in front of him. Then only he can be called as a project management. Very important slide again, very important triangle. And this is a triangle which is required for talent of project management. It is not necessary that project managers are born. They can be trained. And if you put the right training by identifying the right person, I think that will do a good job. Like it's like project managers like this guy. He should be able to create such masterpiece in painting. He should be able to create a masterpiece of project, right? So this is how project managers looked at. Now let us get into the project management itself. If you can't describe what you are doing as a process, you don't know what you are doing. And that is what I wanted to tell you earlier also. If you don't describe what you are doing, you cannot be knowing it, that thing. So generally, in this case, project management, we should not be trying to remember the process. We must be able to understand the process, and we must be able to share the process. We must be able to explain to other people. Then your knowledge will be a better thing. A process in project management is same as normal process. It has got inputs, it has got tools and techniques, and it has got outputs, right? The entire fundamental of the project management, as I told you earlier, starts from initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling. These are we called as the 5 process groups, and that is the whole basis. That's the whole fundamental of project management process. It starts from initiating to closing, and we also have project life cycle, which is generally, if you look at from our own life cycle, we get birth, we get into childhood, we get into adulthood, and we go into graveyard or smashan bhumi. Finally, what is left is very important. The person who leaves the legacy behind, right? That person will be remembered always. Similarly, for project, when somebody conceptualize a project and it goes through this process, and finally a masterpiece is created, a legacy is created. So project life cycle and our life cycle is same. That is what I wanted to convey here. We born and we go into the smashan bhumi or graveyard, but the people who are remembered, they live their legacy. Similarly, project has to, speak for itself. It should leave the legacy, and that is why some of the old projects, they still stand tall because they have left their legacies, right? So in case of project management, we have seen these process groups here: initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling. These are 5 process groups, and this is backed up by 10 knowledge areas. What are the 10 knowledge areas? These are 10 knowledge areas, are these 10 knowledge areas. So in any project, if you want to do a project, you must have integration. You should have what is the scope, time, cost, quality, human resource, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. These are all things which are required for project to get completed. These plus these process groups are the basic fundamentals of project management, which is designed by PMI. And we must know what is the project life cycle. We must know what are the process groups. We must know what is the knowledge areas. Then we will be able to create a project management process. Now, if you look at in project, risk is very high because you don't know what is going to happen in the project at the start. But the moment we go into it, the risk becomes lower and lower. Similarly, cost is low, but when we go up, the cost becomes higher and higher. That's how the risk and cost cycle is known here, right? So we have seen what are the process groups here. We have seen what are the project knowledge areas here. Now, this is what is the table, which is called PMBOK. It comes from PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge. The entire project management psychology or process is based in the table, this table here. Now look at the initiation, planning, executing. These processes are here. These are 10 knowledge areas here. What is it is designed is in each knowledge area, in each process group, there are some processes. It is not necessary that in each knowledge area there should be a process for each process group. So let us look at one example here. Integration, or we can say a scope. Scope, there are 4 processes in planning and 2 in monitoring control. There are 6 processes in scope. 4 in planning, 2 in monitoring and control. Similarly, in cost, 3 and 1. So in all this planning and monitoring, you can see there are total 49 processes. In the entire project management foundation is built on this. 50% of the processes are given in planning. And that is the importance which PMI gives in planning. And we don't give that importance to planning, which is very important. 12 processes are for monitoring and reviewing. We don't give again the importance to that. And this is where we'll go into unsuccessful projects. So it is very important to understand this. This is a cycle which gives you, these are the 49 processes. These are name of the processes. Like we have seen in project scope, there are 4 processes in planning: plan, scope, management, collect requirement, define scope, create WBS, validate scope, and control scope. Similarly, the entire chart gives you what are the process, what are the names. It's of around 48 hours of training to go into each and every thing. But this is what a flavor which I wanted to give you, how the project management is built up. It's built up in this chart. It built up in this chart, and it's very important to understand this. We can have a session for going all those things, but this is where I want to leave here in this project management, and I wanted to go into HVAC. HVAC is again a complex thing because we are not just cooling, we are doing a lot of other things, right? So in a project, we play a small part as a HVAC, but a significant part, right? HVAC induced energy into in a building, and it maintains a lot of comfort level for the people inside. It maintains comfort for the processes, and HVAC project has to be aligned with the outcome of the project, objective of the project. As I said, we cannot be doing our own one per thing, and the whole project is a different objective. If the two objective don't match, your project gets failed. So HVAC plays very, very important role, right? It must be integrated with other services. If you do stand alone, you will have a lot of reworks, right? And HVAC team must know the scope before the start of the project. So HVAC is this, and we must be knowing, we have seen what is the project objective and success. Can you imagine hospital and ICU without an air conditioning, data center without cooling, control rooms without air conditioning, pharma facility without control HVAC? Not possible. In terms of the overall project, our value would be 5% or 3%. But if these are not there, your project success will not be happening. And as the HVAC contractor, we must know, we must align our success with the project success. Otherwise, your final payments will be in trouble. If there's a mismatch there, it's gone. So it's very important to understand what is the project objective, what is our objective, and our success has to match with project objective and must be able to drive that project and must be able to satisfy the needs of the people. If OC in ICU or OT, there is no air conditioning, no patient will come, no doctor will come to operate, right? So it's like this. So all are interlinked, and our HVAC plays an important role. That's what I wanted to get into. So what is the importance of project management HVAC? We have seen meet business objective, turnover profit. We must be able to satisfy the stakeholder expectations, and this has to be there, right? We must be able to be predictable and consistent delivery. We must be able to do consistency in all projects in terms of time and quality, and we must be able to predict our project. Today, if you want any project, if you want to understand where the project is and how it's going to, by what day it will be finished and what will be the final cost, it will be very difficult exercise for all of you. And the project management gives you that kind of tools to give you be predictable, and it will be able to deliver consistent delivery. That is very important in HVAC project, right? This project management importance is to increase the chances of success. It will 100% give you a good success if you implement all the process properly. Deliver the right product at right time. We must be able to, we cannot do, some work which is not required at the point of time, and the work gets, deteriorated, and at the end of the project, customer say that work is deteriorated, I cannot take it over. And we get into a lot of problems, a lot of disputes. Finally, we have to put more resources to get it corrected so that customer accept the project and he gets payment. So that's how it's like this. Look at this picture here and look at this picture here. These machines were not supposed to be delivered at that point of time. They got delivered. Nobody took the safety part of it. Finally, you find in a contract, the custody or safety of of your material is the contractor responsibility till the handover. And this is where we get into trouble. The project management will be able to help you here, right? Resolve the problems and issues. Problems and challenges are part of project. Project management processes will be able to resolve it amicably, properly, without any issues. And that is why project management's importance comes in. With the project management on HVAC project, we'll be able to respond to the risk immediately. We'll be able to plan the risk. What are the risks required? We will be able to monitor the risk, and when the risk happens, we'll be able to respond properly. Risk management is a very integral project of the project management, and this is what is very, very important for HVAC project also. We will be able to optimize resources properly with the right kind of project management process. Most of the time, we are depend on customers saying that you need 50 people or 100 people. We are not able to tell customer this 20 people are enough, because you don't know whether 20 people are enough or not. If you are able to create such charts, a proper mobilization curve with proper basis, how this number of people have come. And if you're able to confidently customer, then customer will be able to appreciate it. He will not demand you unjust. So it's very important. And this is what project management does. And this is very important part for our HVAC of the project. If the project is going in the wrong direction, project management will be able to help you to identify, recover, or any failing project. So you'll be able to identify it in advance, not after a project gets completed. Not you do a 300 or 30 crore project and your outstanding is 20 crore. This project management process, if you implement, you'll be able to give triggers at right point of time. Manage change better. Any project will have changes. It is how we manage them is very, very important. Otherwise, these changes will take you into circles and you will not be able to get out of circle anytime. You will always start looking at which way you have to go. So having project management processes, you will be able to manage the time change in proper manner. And this manage, we have seen those 3 triple constraints. Project management will be able to help you in HVAC project to manage all these constraints. There's always a trade-off. There is always a fight between these 3. Always someone is pulling on his side. The cost will pull is on his side. The scope will pull on his side. But it's very important with right processes, be able to manage it properly. And that's what these are all importance of project management in HVAC project. That was another topic we wanted to deal. So we have gone through all these things. Now let's look at what are the challenges which you face in HVAC project. I got it from my own understanding and some of the elements of project management from PMI. One of the important thing which I feel personally is understanding of scope. We don't know what is the scope all about. We know it is to be HVAC or air conditioning to be done. Sorry, once again. But there are a lot of boundary limits, which we should be able to understand. If you are able to directly do a project with customer, you must be able to know what is the needs, what is the understanding. And let us look at this picture a little carefully. This is how a customer explained a project to a contractor, maybe same. This is how the project leader understood the second picture. The third picture, somebody has designed it like this. The fourth picture, how the programmers has written this project, how the planner has written the project, how the testing was done the project. Now look at what customer explained, and even the customer was also not right. You will see at the end how the consultant have designed this project. You will always find a lot of gold elements here, right? How the project was documented, it was documented in the air. How finally people executed the project. They only put one rope here in this, right? This rope here. How customer was built, it was like building a bridge. That's how customer was built. And to support that building, there was nothing. How the marketing advertised, they advertised like this. But what finally customer wanted was something else. And this chart gives you a lot of understanding, a lot of value, a lot of knowledge about understanding of project, understanding of project scope. And this is a very important chart which I wanted to bring out. And this is what we face in HVAC. Most of the disputes which goes into courts are on the scope, right? If you look at even payments not getting made by customer will have element of scope because there's little dispute of what is included, what is not included. So let us look at this. Must be known to us as a HVAC contractor, understanding of scope. What is my boundary line? If you're doing a plant room, what is there in my scope, which is there in this box, and what is there outside this box? And there is a boundary line which is clearly stated. If there is a dispute or understanding issue, we must be able to clear in the beginning, not at the end. So this boundary line should not be extremely thin. It should be very rigid. Chiller foundations are done by outside, not part of your scope. Chillers are part of your scope. Piping is part of your scope. Control panel is part of the scope. But painting of the chiller plant is not part of my scope. Lighting of the chiller plant is not part of my scope, right? Wall opening, not part of my scope. Finishing of wall, not part of scope. Incoming water, incoming power, not part of scope. If you're able to understand it, I think this will give a very good stress relief other than disputes later. So boundary limits has to be understood. And that's what I feel one of the challenge in managing this project, HVAC project. It's like this, Now this is where the objective comes and we start taking the scope into different direction and whenever it is not required. So this is what I wanted to bring about here. I want to give an example here. One of the project I saw, HUs in the mall were fixed, and drain was taken out inside the shaft. and the plumbing contractor was supposed to put the pipes, vertical pipes. The person who did the HVAC put the drain pipe outside the shaft. The person who put the plumbing pipes, he put the vertical pipes, and there was no clarity who is going to give that trap and who is going to put it inside. In that gray area, work got over, shaft got closed, building started, and water started coming in the basement. Everybody started how the water is coming. Finally, they found that the pipe was not connected to the vertical pipes. The pipe was just lying, it was coming in the basement. So this is the kind of clarity of scope which is required, right? And this is where we should be alert, we should be vigilant. Most of the time we fail in power and water arrangement. One of the project, the water required for flushing, the cost of that water was 1.8 crore. My own experience. If you are not able to cost it properly, you will have problems. Major and minor civil works, we get into issues. Labor Compliance Acts, we get into issues. Who is going to provide the hygiene arrangements? Who is going to provide the general information? Who is going to provide security? Site office, noise and vibration. Most of the time, we put the chiller on top of the CEO who signs our checks. Knowingly, the chiller is going to create noise and vibration. So all these things have to be understood. The scope is not only supply of labor and material. There are a lot of boundaries around it. We must be able to understand it. The project team must be able to understand the scope properly. Documentation is key, and there has to be accepted sign-off. And this will, and with the right change control process, if something goes change, we must be able to document and get it accepted by customer. If you allow these four quadrants together, work together in tandem, project is going to be success for HVAC. I'm telling you. If you do this diligently, if everybody is on the same platform, the project will be successful for our objective as a HVAC contractor, right? And we will be able to, in the process, satisfy the customer. We'll be able to do a good quality project. We'll be able to learn a lot of things, but we must be able to build this. And it's very important slide again for understanding of scope. We must be able to understand the scope and decompose it like a WBS, very important tool in project management, which is WBS. There's one process in project management. You must have seen the chart. WBS, one of the process in scope. We must be able to decompose it till the last point where we can manage. And this WBS will be able to give you the overview of the project. And we must be able to do small tasks. You must be able to do a cost element, time element for the task, and you can build an entire project here. A lot of softwares are available. You can do your own customization, but it's very, very important thing for a scope understanding. If you do this, you will find out a lot of things are not in your scope, and then you must be able to raise the request for information and other things to get it clarified, who is going to do what. Because if you do everything and suppose the drain pipe is not done, there's no point of doing the HVAC there. Similarly, this AHU room, you will have to deep dive, piping, diagonal coupling, elbows, flanges, gaskets, TG, PG. If you are able to do it once, because for HVAC, these are common things. We can do it for once, and this can be your guiding template for all our projects. And it is breaking down till the last unit, and we must be able to do it because we have only 4 or 5 elements in HVAC, right? And this will give you a lot of importance. This will give you, as a part of estimation, also cost estimation. If you are able to do activity estimate, we'll be able to do as a work package estimate, control account, we'll be able to do a project estimate. We can add some contingency reserve. We can add some management reserves for risk, and we can have a proper cost budget. This WBS will be able to help you do that by putting cost and time element against each activity. And if most of the time we use thumb rule, and if God is okay, then thumb rule works. If it doesn't, then we have a problem. Another thing we do is we don't follow is lack of change control process. As I said, changes are happening and we are not able to control. And generally these changes are called scope creeps. Number of changes which are not managed properly, not documented properly, are scope creep. We must be able to visualize, we must be able to alert these changes, document, and should be able to get a proper process in to get time and cost impact from customer. The other side of scope creep is gold plating. If customer wants GI, we will go and give aluminum. That is called gold plating to please customer, which is not required as per contract, not as per specification. This must be avoided. We must be able to do what is being asked. So these two important terminologies are used. Scope creep is frequent changes. You must be aware of it. Your project will be taken for a toss if you are not able to take care of it. Gold plating, another thing, People should not go beyond what is required. Change management, it is inevitable, as I said, but somebody has to manage it properly. So what is happening when the change comes? We must be able to evaluate the impact. We must be able to get the options. We must be able to put it to customer and get buy-in from the customer, get approval from the customer, and that this thing evaluate impact of any change will have lot of elements. It will impact on time, it will impact on cost, it will impact on quality, it will impact on risk, it will impact on your resources. So any change, if you are doing a project on a normal way, if the change comes and if you don't have manpower, you have to either divert manpower from here to there, or you have to add more manpower. Again, cost element comes. If you're not able to identify manpower here, you will divert from here to there. This will go on delaying. And once you come back here in India, you will not be able to get the same manpower. The next manpower comes, you will not do the right things, and the quality will be issue, right? So this is very important. We must be able to introduce a process and get buy-in from the customer from the day one. This is how we are going to change we are going to handle the process. So changes must be recorded. Generally, a log needs to be created for change log. Project management instruction is one of the notice or document which we can as a notifying the change. And site anything happens, site engineering request can be another document which can be used for a change. Change register has to be maintained. Time and cost impact has to be done. Quality is another element. And document control, we'll see a little later, is an important position for managing this change. And this process has to be understood. One example I'm giving you here, one of the project, there were design people who were supposed to involve were so many. A number of months, each person is going to be there on the project. A four-year project was like this. This was agreed by customer. The cost was associated, was calculated accordingly. But actual deputation of the manpower of design prolonged. So you can see the numbers here, 64 become 104, 84 become 240. All the numbers change. And if you do the cost analysis of this, the total planned cost as per this was 1 crore 27 lakhs. The actual cost became 5.49 lakhs. If you don't document this properly, there's a straight loss of 4.21 crores, right? And this has to be understood properly. You cannot go on later saying that my design changes happen, I have to put more manpower and all those things. This has to be agreed at the first go. It was agreed in the kickoff meeting, and then this claim was settled. So this is the importance of change control process. We must be able to get in. Any claim strategy for any claims have to have a contractual base. Each contract will be different, but whatever our claim goes, this is part of this triangle, must have contractual base and all the evidences. It could be pictures, minutes of meeting, receipt, invoices, whatever. If you are able to build our claim on these two, your claims are likely to get success. It's very important to understand this. Another important thing is credibility of estimation. There's another challenge which we face. If you look at this chart here, vendor A quotes first quote 20 crores, next quote 15, vendor B 11, 10, finalized cost is 9. Which is a credible vendor here? Credible vendor is the vendor B, right? Because he has made consistency. You cannot drop down from 20 crores to 15 crores and then cost finally is 9 crores. So there has to be a credibility in estimation. And in estimation, there should not be only material and labor. There are a lot of things: material, labor, ancillaries, site expenses, local issues, overheads, finance cost, warranty obligation, contingency, profit, and involvement of a project manager who has handled similar projects is very important for getting the right cost. Whether you want to do a project in loss or profit, that's a decision of the organization. But you must be able to understand whether I'm doing in loss and profit at the first moment based on your correctness of estimation. If your estimation is wrong, you are digging the well at the first stage only. So these are all elements I've just listed out required as a part of site expense. So many things are required for a site expense. It's a sizable chunk which must be added as a part of cost. One of the example again I want to give you. Generally, we estimate our ancillaries of walls or pipes in terms of percentage. It is not right. If you do this analysis first, if you look at one example here of wall, manual balancing wall, a 25 mm wall, its basic rate is 2120 at the wall, but the accessory rate is 2656, more than the wall cost. How it came? It came from this accessory cost, which is nut bolts, flanges, gaskets, unions. If you add the cost up for one wall of 25 mm dia, the cost of the wall is less than the cost of the ancillaries. It may not be for same for higher walls here. It is less here. It's 8070, 1834. But this is the costing which somebody is required to be done. It can, again, I'm saying the items do not change. Most of the time it remains same. If you do such templates in the beginning, this will be able to help. Project management cost. Most of the time we feel the project is delayed is better. But if you put the right amount of resources for right amount of time and put their salary in and see what is the cost of the project management, that is the people who are working on the job, your direct cost, direct staff, you will be able to find out what is that cost. And if a project gets delayed, that is your fixed cost, which will eat away your profit. So you must be able to build these elements into your costing, and we must be able to tell customer or tell the stakeholder, whoever it may not be XYZ, that these are the cost elements. And if this something goes delays because of something else, then this is a fixed cost, which is a loss to a project. One more thing, we give disrespect to planning. I told you before, planning is very important. It gives clarity on what you are going to do, how we are going to do, and when we are going to do. These are three important elements of a project, and that gives a planning gives this. Always have a plan and believe in it. Nothing happens by accident. We don't do. Most of the time we believe in accidents, but planning has to be given an important thing. Planning has to be given respect. It avoids firefighting. It helps you in decision making. Planning is not as design. Most of the time we tell planning is a design function. It's a different person altogether. It gives you an alert, and it will be making you prepared for any unpleasant situation. You're always prepared for any unpleasant situation. And that's the importance of planning. You can get such beautiful things. There's a plan, a manpower plan, which is done. And this chart has not come just like that. It has got a backing of such productivity for one particular activity. What are the number of days left? What is the quantity? How many people are required? What is the productivity? If you are aware of this, you'll be able to build this. If you are able to present this to a customer will feel that somebody has worked on the project. And that's what is lacking in most of the time, because we disrespect the planning, right? So this is a chart which gives you that kind of working for each and every activity you can do. And as I said, our activities are very, very limited activities. You can get the chart and then you can use it for your plan versus actual, right? This is a curve which gives you, it will give you in all facets of project, what is the variance. Variance will be there. Reasons could be different, but we must be able to know whether the variances are there. And we must be able to do scientifically, not by putting in head. And that's how planning does. Rolling wave planning is planning what is there on a plate right now. It's like these waves, A project is made of all waves. If you want to go for swimming, if you want to reach it here, you will encounter so many waves. But we must be able to encounter waves, first in, first go, second waves, third waves, and fourth wave. We must be knowing all the waves are there. But this is what is called rolling wave planning. We must be able to plan, execute, and control first wave, second wave, third wave, and fourth wave. This is how the project has to be looked at. This is called rolling wave planning. Whatever is in their plate, you must be doing proper planning. What is not in your plate, you must be having back of the mind and do a higher level of planning so that you will not have a problem later. And that is called rolling wave planning. Because of these waves, the name is given. Mobilization, again, a problem. Most of the time we fail to give positive impression to client here only. We do not have kickoff meetings. There has to be a proper overlap between design and execution, and the communication from the first to last person has to be known. Everybody has to be on the same platform. If you delay the mobilization, the cost of mobilization will be very, very high. Kickoff meetings have to be done both internally and externally, and the agenda has to be there, and most of the agenda has to be on this line. What are the roles and responsibilities? What is the communication matrix? What are the unclear decisions? Which are the hold areas? What are the project assumption? What is the role of each person? Who is going to sign our measurements? Who is going to sign our papers? All these things have to be discussed in this meeting, right? And this is why mobilization plays an important role. Time is very, very important. We must be able to dive in and reach here. We should not be living like this guy here. We must be able to get in here And that is the element of time, and that is the element of planning, right? Another important thing is communication, which I again feel is very, very important. 80%, 1 out of 5 project is unsuccessful because of poor communication. You can see the chart here. And this communications goes because of a lot of barriers. We have a customer here, we have a sales and marketing team, we have a design team, we have execution team, and we have after sales team. You can see a lot of barriers here. And these barriers is one of the important aspect of failure of a project. The information doesn't seamlessly get transmitted to other team, and that creates chaos on the project. And a lot of the time, project gets failed. You can see the impact on cost and time for poor planning from initiation to closing. If you go on wrong communication, poor communication, the impact on cost and time is very, very high. And this is the chart which shows you. As I said, project managers spend 90% of the time on communication. And what are the analysis of stakeholder communication? We'll see the stakeholder a little later. There has to be receiver, there has to be content, time, frequency, format, sender. This has to be known from the beginning. You must be able to sign contract and see this is my person who is going to be authorized signatory. No, anybody cannot go on giving communication. The communication has to be routed through them only. And project communication has to be timely. It has to be appropriate. It cannot be a story. It has to be appropriate. What is wanted, properly generated, properly collected, properly stored, properly distributed to a right person, to the right people at right point of time. And that is the crux of the communication. If you know this, I think half of the problems will be solved, right? So this is one tool which we use in project management that is called RSCI matrix. These are the people who are involved. These are the activities, what is required for what people is told here. RSCI is nothing but responsible, accountable, consult, and inform. So everybody is knowing, but the roles are different. The information will be for the accountable will go in a very stringent way because he's the person who is supposed to take action. Who is responsible, there will be another right kind of information has to go. If this is built up, your communication will be seamless and you will be able to manage communication properly. There are many people who are involved in it, sponsors, contractors, subcontractors, our own subcontractors, end users, vendor suppliers, investors. We must be able to handle seamlessly. We must be able to listen. We must be having empathy, and we should be cool and calm in communication. That cannot be boil of pressure, blood boiling in communication. It will go into a wrong way. Very important chart again for managing communication against all stakeholders. It has to be, as I said here, important to communicate, and the signature specimen has to be there. We must know what is the mode of communication, email, letter, and it has to be concise and transparent. The communication has to be proper. Now, what are the stakeholders? It is not our customer, not our vendor. There are many people. We must be able to identify these stakeholders. Let us look at one chart here. On an airport project, you will have so many stakeholders, from passengers to from airlines to local communities, suppliers, employees, government, unions, investors, tenants, general public, regulatory body, media. These are all stakeholders in a project, and we must be able to handle them properly. We must be able to identify who is the right stakeholder. For us, architect could be a remote stakeholder, but he will have influence on the project. So we must be able to do this grid, which is called power versus interest, identify the people, put them into 4 quadrants, and take actions accordingly. There are some people who are high interest, high power. This must be our end customer. We must be able to give them right information, right amount of time. And this is what the communication comes. There will be one guy who is low interest but high power. He must be a project consultant or project management consultant who will be there. He's again important because he's got powers. There will be some people who has got high interest but low power. Again, these are important. We should be having. This is like the same nano plant. The high interest, low power were the farmers. Their interest was huge, but power was less. But moment they got political power behind them, they got from this quadrant to this quadrant, and that affected the entire project of nano. Low interest, high interest, low power people become suddenly powerful. So this whole quadrant has to be monitored properly, right? Even the low interest, low power people, we have to be monitor. If we shift to this and then shift here, project will be having problem. Again, stakeholder management engagement matrix have to be designed based on this grid. And stakeholder management, nothing like but Guzzler's Act. It's like, this person who is managing all the bottles, and this is what his stakeholder management is all about. Everybody has to be made at his place properly without affecting anything. Because if you treat people right, they will treat you 90% of the time right. So we must be able to treat people, and that's why the art part again comes into picture. Another important positions which I wanted to show is document controller. If you're not able to give a document controller for a project, at least on your office, if it is there, you'll be able to manage your documentation properly. Most of the time when the document is required, the document is not available. And document control will be able to build a system. It will be able to give you document in a second, flash of second, right? Planning manager, he cannot be a design manager. A planning engineer or manager has to be there. Stores, our margins most of the times are in single digit. If stores are not managed properly, the margins will be in stores, right? Quantity surveyor, QA QC engineer, safety officer, these are very important things. If not possible for one project because of value or complexity, it can be done on rotational, because the control has to be there on all projects, and these are important positions which generally we ignore. Cash flow and cash management, we must be able to predict. As I told you, there is no prediction method which is available. This is another tool called EVM, which gives you on any point of the project, if the data is put properly, where I am on the project. This is my planned value. This is how I'm going to put the project. And if I take a review here, and this is my earned value. If you look at in terms of even invoicing, where your invoicing was supposed to be here, now here, that means you are not on time, right? If your cost is more than invoicing, then you are in red, right? So this gives a very, very systematic thing like this. There are 4 or 5 projects here, and you will find all these things over here. There's a cost variance and schedule variance over here. These are the formulas which will tell you your project is under schedule or over cost. So you can see these green ones are the right projects which has got positive cost variances, positive schedule variances, ahead of schedule, within the cost. These are the projects which are out of the cost and behind the schedule. So you can manage this and put this sheet here. You will be able to predict. Based on this, you will be able to predict your cost or value at completion of 100. If you do like this, you'll go at 107. So you're going to have more cost spent at the end of the project. So these are the analysis which can be done. And you can always again put into different bracket, where under budget and ahead of schedule is your first priority, and other projects which are either behind schedule or over cost overrun, you must be able to get them back from all these 3 quadrants to here. And that is what, once you know where the projects are, you'll be able to give you. This is a big subject again, very important thing. Cash flow management, most of the time, this is a project of 12 months, 100 crore projects with 10% margin, credit to customer 30 days, credit to vendor 30 days. If we move it like this with our cost coming in, if you consider some advance here, you can see our profit of 10 crores lies at the 13th month, moment we complete the entire project. Balance, everything is only rolling of cash. But if something goes wrong in between months, your entire project cash flow will go for toss. But we must be able to know whether the cash flow is going wrong, because generally most times the time you handle many projects, one cash comes to another projects, no one knows what happens. And this is how it goes. If you are able to put this in place, you will be able to know that at the start of the project, I get some advance. Month 1, I am not releasing that much amount to contractor. You are in good shape. Month 2, you are in good shape. Month 3, you are going in red. Month 4, you are going in red. But if this is known, this has to be known. As a project management, this gives you a lot of elements of cash flow management, where you got data on which you can take some decision. Without data, if you take decision, it's not going to help you. Project execution is not only doing physical work at site, it has to handle a lot of things, managing risk, managing people, managing communication, managing stakeholders, managing suppliers. This is all about project execution. It's not only physically working at site. And that is where another point comes, is lack of innovation. we can see such civil structures. Earlier used to be done at site. Now most of the thing works is done outside. That is done prefabrication, and they get it done here. And if you look at in our kind of works, we have not gone that beyond. Prefabrication is coming in big way. You can do site work and work off-site and save a lot of cost and time by doing this. You can do all these things using BIM outside, get as a full package, transfer it into site, and install is as it is like this. So this is prefabrication, very important thing which will save a lot of cost and time. A lot of things can be built outside because we are so much dependent on people, and those can be reduced. You can get such output. Another things, you can use a lot of mechanized tools to do your jobs. Some of the things which are done for lifting the pipes. These are some of the examples. Use forklifts to install CSUs. BIM is another technology which is coming in. You can do a lot of things from BIM, planning, costing, everything. This all progress of tracking of the BIM from the BIM is possible. And another important thing is inconsistency in delivered, quality delivered. You can see some of the pictures here. Some of the good pictures and bad pictures I have just collared. Look at this. Before even starting, the fan is rusting. The pipes is installed with a wire. The staircase is put on top of the units. There's a problem. Sorry for this. Some of the beautiful work which is done, which will give a lot of pride. Very good work done. This is the one of the mall which I visited. The sweating of the pipes already started. A lot of water accumulating, and this is one of the area where how we are measuring the temperature. This is where the quality comes, and it has to be consistent, and that is where we lack most of the time. We don't learn from the past project because project learning is very important. We must be able to identify, document, and store, and we must be able to give the learning to the next people so that they don't fall into the same trap again and again. And that is why it is very important. And as I said, past and present will determine your future. You must be able to know what is done well, what could have been improved, what we could have avoided, what problems we could have solved. And this is very important to understand this. Steve Jobs said the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. And we must be able to learn from the project. And most of the important item here again is integration. We might be doing some works of excellence in pockets, but integration has to be important for a project. It's like this maestro who has got control on all the musicians, violinist, pianist, tabla. He's the guy who integrates and gives you a proper music. Similarly, we must be able to integrate all aspects of our HVAC and should be able to create a masterpiece. And this is very important where we lack. The integration is very important to get right product at right point of time with right quality. Success lies about luck and less about luck and more about practice. And this is with this, I think I overshot a lot of time. I will end my session here. I think a lot of things could have been done, but the positive time, I think I have done a little faster. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure having you here. We have received a couple of small questions if you would like to answer them.
Yeah.
First question is, what should be the ideal project meeting frequency?
So depending upon the project size and complexity, but most of the time our project meetings are done just for sake of meeting, and okay. less of the meeting is better. And there's a formula behind it. If you have a meeting with 8 people and with 3 important agendas, that meeting can be a proper meeting. Most of the time our meeting rooms are filled with people. Nobody contributes. They just come as a spectator and go. We must limit number of meetings, and we must have a clear agenda and the outcome of the meeting has to be there. Just for discussion, the meeting should be avoided.
Right.
I personally tell most of the time that if this is the discussion is going to be done and this will be the outcome, I'll attend the meeting, otherwise I will not attend the meeting.
Right.
And it should be very clear.
We see a lot of cases where there are lots of meetings with that those agendas could have been concluded over calls or mails, but still too many people meeting and wasting everybody's man hours.
Yes.
So second question is, what is the most neglected practice in project management in Indian context?
As I said, one is the consistent delivery project, and one more important thing was communication and change control. The communication is very, very important, and you can see the communication flows from one side to another side. There are a lot of gaps, and that creates a lot of misconception, misunderstanding, and change control. We are not able to identify the change, and we are not able to manage the change. And on a project, there are always changes. These two important elements, which I feel from my experience, at least in our field, are important.
Right, sir. And the final question is, sir, what would be your advice to a young manager who is handling a team which is much senior to him in age and experience?
So to give just an example, the person who puts the rover on the Mars from NASA was 38-year-old guy. And the people who work under him were 75, 80 years of scientists. I gave an analogy of Tendulkar versus Dhoni.
Right.
You will have people under you who are much senior to you. You can give respect to him, but they are not the ones who are able to manage people. So art of side of the project management has to be important. It is not necessary the seniority is the right, because they are good at their place. You must be able to extract maximum efficiency out of these people and lead the project.
Right, sir. Sir, it has been a fascinating
I wanted to
experience.
clear one video, but I don't
Yes.
have time. I just wanted to show the this thing of BIM in one of the project.
Yeah.
If you can allow me 2 minutes, I will put it.
Sure, sir, sure.
Yeah. So this is the technology which is evolving right now, and this is one of the chiller plant room on which the visualization of BIM was done in 3D. This is a walkthrough of a chiller plant room. You can see a lot of services here: piping, cable trays, pumps, chillers, panels. A small video, and I can tell you, this has resulted a lot of prefabrication of work outside of this plant room. Around 65% of the work was done outside, and you can see one of the real plant room video also. This was what has come out from the BIM, the 3D BIM. You can see pumps here. You can see electrical panel over here. There's one more video for this same thing, and I'll show you the real ones. This is again the same, but it will give you different views of chillers here. So it will go, this person will go to right hand side. He'll show you the pumps here. And these are on the right hand side, and left hand side are the chillers. These are the pipes, corridor. This is the output of a BIM, and you can see how well it is integrated between different systems. Now I'm going to show you the real one, and you can see similarity of the same plant room. There's one more video from the chiller side. The same chillers here. So this is the small video I wanted to play, and this is what I want to talk about: the use of technology into our field. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to invite Mr. Harshal Sada, our secretary, to give a vote of thanks to Mr. Ajaz Qazi sir for this wonderful session.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ajaz. It was really a wonderful session. We enjoyed it. And what you said is a reality of the project. We face this also a lot of problems in whether it is a big project. We really face this type of problem, what you mentioned it. And you have given the solutions of that, how to avoid this type of problem. Thank you very much, Mr. Ajaz. And I've seen that some of the ISRE Ahmedabad chapter past president also attended this event, Mr. Uvisha and Mr. Sanjay Adoryu. Thank you, sir, for joining this event. Thank you, Mr. Ajaz, once again for this wonderful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.